Hey guys, it's Chelsea from The Financial Diet here with someone very, very special. This is not only a great personal friend of mine, but also a wonderful author and person, Laura Jane Williams.
Thank you. Very nice introduction.
She's also got some really cool news, which is that she has a new book out, which you can all go and find and buy and enjoy. It's called Ice Cream for Breakfast. And Laura's actually already sort of worked with The Financial Diet a little bit because she wrote an article for us almost a year ago, which talked about her being at the same time a best-selling author and a nanny. As you guys know, something we talk about a lot on the channel is approaching your dreams in a realistic and sustainable way. So we thought that it would be a perfect fit to talk to Laura about just that. So first and foremost, Laura, can you tell us a little bit about how it came to be that you were a best-selling author and a nanny at the same time?
You mean beyond the fact that writing hardly pays anything?
Yikes.
Yes. Yeah. I had worked for the whole of my 20s to produce this book, and I'd always taken odd jobs, knowing that ultimately my goal was to see my name on the spine of a book.
And so just for the record, this was your first book, and this is now your second.
Yes. I was doing like odd journalism jobs, a little bit of copywriting, some teaching. By the time the book came out, I was exhausted. Knew I needed something that wasn't dependent on my creativity to generate an income, but I didn't want to spend my creativity on somebody else's business. And so I decided to work with kids. Yeah, become a part-time nanny. I knew I could either keep it a secret because people might think I'm less of a big deal of a writer if somehow I have this secondary source of income. I knew I could either hide from that or embrace that. I chose to embrace it, and then my publisher asked me to write a book about it.
So you sort of touched on it a little bit, but did you feel any kind of sense of shame or like being a nanny somehow like detracted from the authenticity of you being a writer?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought in my imagination, and I don't know where this comes from, but as soon as you're a writer and you're on the Amazon bestseller list and, you know, have this book to your name, then that's it. You've made it. That's the top of the mountain. And actually getting a book published was like base camp. And I did need to supplement my income with something and have this break. But that had a lot of shame for me of, am I doing this wrong? Are other authors doing this and not talking about it? Are other authors just happy getting by rather than living financially comfortably? It took me about 3 months to finally kind of reveal to the internet that this is how I was spending my days, was with children. And it was so well received.
So when you finally came out and kind of told your readers what you were doing and that you were spending kind of your days being a nanny, what really was the response? Like, what did people say to you?
Do you know what? The best example that I can give to illustrate what the response was, I was on a panel and I was invited there by a national magazine as an author. I was there with Jessie Burton, who wrote The Muse and The Miniaturist, who sold like millions of books in 30 different languages. And everybody was talking about this great, you know, this is what it is to be a writer, this is my day, this is how to keep faith in the writing. And I kind of really sat and struggled of, I'm in a room of London's powerful media elite, and I'm going to have to say, I came here after looking after somebody else's children. And when the panel was finished, I had a line of people who wanted to talk to me to say, oh my God, that is a reality that I can write, and I get it. I have to do something else. There's always going to be a hustle. But generally the response was, okay, you make creativity and making a living that way accessible, being honest about having to supplement it.
So if you're talking to someone who has a very average financial life, who's not very wealthy, who is interested in pursuing a creative profession, but really doesn't know how to approach it or make it work, like what would you say to that person?
I would say you can't steal money, but you can steal time.
Interesting. What does that mean?
That, to me, that means, so I'm working on a project right now, absolutely on spec, which means I can't afford to be giving it several hours a day. I have to write in notes on my phone, on the subway, on the underground in London, get up earlier or go to bed later, steal that time to make that project. So I steal time, I write when I can, and I would say lean into that. Lean into the fact that if you have a job that has benefits, or if you take a sick day, you're going to get paid, if you can take a paid vacation. Like, if I take a day off, I lose money. So I always say, don't glamorize the like freelance life. Lean into this income that you have, no matter how small you might perceive it to be, and then still time in the rest of your life to develop any creative thing that you hope to generate an income. Which is like so not a helpful answer because there's no shortcut to it. But that's how it is.
I totally agree. When I started writing, I was going to school. I was an au pair, and I would just literally write in my bed at, 1 o'clock in the morning. And it meant that I was incredibly tired every day. But I'm really glad that I did that because, as you say, like, time is really the only resource that we can steal, that we can kind of be greedy with a little bit, even if it's almost a little bit at the expense of our short-term health.
Yes.
Like we can make that time. So what would you say to someone who feels maybe embarrassed about how they're earning money, or feels like they're maybe not the like full-blown professional that they want to be because they're having to make it work with like a lot of different sources of income?
Primarily, I would say own it. I think keeping your financial situation or the other jobs that you do a secret ultimately steals something from you that's going to show up in a lack of creativity. Like, truth is freedom, and with freedom, that means the creativity continues to come in abundance. That sounds really like wanky, but you know what I mean.
Sounds a little The Secret, Eat, Pray, Love-esque, but I like it.
So you have to own it. But to that end, on that panel that I was on with the wonderful writers who have sold all these books and are journalists and whatever, Grazia gave me a column after that panel because they saw my relatability, and that is what I have built my career on, is in no way aspirational. It's about being attainable. And I think that's given me much more leverage as a creator and as an artist. Getting a book off being a nanny, which was never my intention I was doing that for my mental health. So then for my publisher, one of the big 4 publishers in the UK as well, to come to me and say, give us that, tell us what you've learned. I feel like my stepping out into the real world gives me a perspective for my creative work. Right. That when I'm creating in a creative vacuum and I'm chained to my desk writing about life, that's not the kind of writer I want to be. I want to be the kind of writer who lives and then has something to say about it. And so as far as I'm concerned, the hustle is imperative to my creativity. It doesn't hinder it. You can quote me on that. That's a tweetable.
We're going to put that on a coffee mug. So long story short, no matter how you're making it happen, never feel embarrassed or ashamed. And more importantly, whatever you're doing, make sure you go get Laura's new book. It's Ice Cream for Breakfast. We're linking you in the description. And go follow Laura on Twitter at this handle that is now appearing in front of you. So as always, thank you for watching. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and to go to thefinancialdiet.com for more. Bye. Bye.